my very first time in a hybrid electric vehicle, plug-in hybrid vehicle, something that can run solely off of the electric motors. The Hornet is really interesting in that sense. The rear axles are the only thing driven by the electric motors. It's basically a front-wheel drive. Makes a cool noise. Basically a front-wheel drive hatch, like hot hatch, plus the added benefit of having all-wheel drive for when you need it. And hard to tell, but there's a little bit of snow on the ground. Conditions I would not say are ideal, and this is going to be a very relaxed review of this vehicle. It makes a really interesting noise. I think I have it on max regen right now. I know just enough to be dangerous in my communications about the vehicle, and not enough to sound intelligent about it quite yet. We'll get to that point. Just from the short drive, obviously it's a brand new car, everything feels brand new. Steering's tight, suspension feels soft, forgiving, and comfortable, but not squishy. That might not make any sense to anyone. It makes perfect sense to me, so. Accelerates confidently. I'm in E-Save currently. Let's see what hybrid feels like. The hybrid system, for example. Right now, I'm showing 0 RPM. We are in electric mode. I didn't notice the crossover at all. It went from basically being only front-wheel drive to being only rear-wheel drive. And that's kind of interesting. I mean, it's a neat technology you aren't even aware of while you're just cruising around. V8 Challenger. Funny enough, this car, 0 to 60, 5.6 seconds. With the e-boost setting turned on and everything else, but kind of wild. That's no slouch. We've made it to the curvy bit of the road. Only seems fair that we turn on sport mode. Road's pretty patchy, so not really pushing it by any means. Paddle shifter felt awesome. It's real responsive too. Oftentimes with the paddle shifters, they seem like a great idea, and then you use them and they're kind of boring. Oh yeah, car feels great. Kind of big S-turns on this portion of the road. And it's real patchy, and I'm not pushing it by any means, but the dealership owns this car. I don't own this car. I just think this car's great. And I haven't really been able to figure out why yet. Because there's many things that wouldn't be redeeming about it. You know, it's an aggressive change from the norm of what us as what I would refer to as car enthusiasts or car people have enjoyed, and that's the, you know, loud, rumbly engine and sporty sounds and low profile. And this isn't really that. It's somehow grown up, but still not. It's like the uncle or the relative you have that you can just expect them to say something kind of funny at a family dinner. That would be what I would explain this as. It feels like what happens when you get older. You want the comfort, you want the niceties. I mean, heated seats, heated steering wheel, it's quiet in here. Everything works. But it still has an edge to it that's exciting. It would seem irresponsible of us to not test, not necessarily 0 to 60, but 0 to something with the power shot, just to kind of get a feel for what it is. So, let's give it a go. Pull both paddles back and go. Kinda rips. Not gonna lie. 288 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque. Gas and electric combined, that is, of course. It's nothing to shy away from. It's over a 4,000-pound car that still feels light and nimble, and you can move it around the road quite easy, and it gets out of its own way, to say the least. I'm kind of impressed. You can really feel the max regen, the 1 foot driving, I think is the technical terms, but it also makes a really fun noise as you let off, which I initially thought was like a turbo whistle or something from the 1.3 liter 4-cylinder turbo. But it doesn't seem to be. I think it's quite literally just an electric motor noise. I'm kind of into it. It's funny that this used to be the nice half of the road. Like when I moved here, this was the nice half. Like you could drive this one with any car, it wouldn't feel a single bump. They repaved the other one. Now the other one's a nice half, and this one's deteriorated quickly. We've got the paddles, we might as well use the paddles. Oh yeah. Dodge claims 0.89 Gs on a skid pad. I think I'd believe it. It holds its own, to say the least. Yeah, it takes the gear selection. That one put it almost at the red line. Didn't argue with me. This is a very interesting car. I would have been the last person to consider a compact or crossover kind of vehicle, but starting price of $40,000 and a total MSRP from the store at 42, it makes perfect sense. It's just a nice driving experience, all in all. There's a lot of new vehicles you get in and they feel kind of detached, almost like they're driving you and you're just kind of along for the ride. And autonomous vehicles are a whole nother conversation that I'm sure we can make a video on at some point. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ability for you to feel the road or have an idea of what the car is doing without having to focus in on exactly what you're feeling. Like, I can feel the road through the steering wheel. Not in a negative way, more so in a way that I can feel what the car's doing. And right now, we're in hybrid mode. It just turned off the gas engine and cruising along 44 miles an hour, all electric. You wouldn't have any idea. I don't know. It's pretty cool. Sporty feels like the wrong term. Kind of. It's not a sports car. It's a small SUV. It's a very practical, fairly inexpensive, with tons of convenience vehicle. But it doesn't make you miserable. If you wanted a sports car, if what you were looking for was something practical, something that made sense and worked well for your needs, but you just couldn't let go of the sports car-esque or sporty feel of a vehicle, this thing would be perfect. You can absolutely put a full-size, full-grown adult in the back. There's one currently. He's over there.
I've been here the whole time.
But you can also go drive through some twisty roads and have a great time doing so. It's quick. I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that it scoots, but quick for sure. Well, engaging sport mode there, I was just playing with the wheel, kind of get an idea of what it feels like, and it physically feels like it tightens the wheel up a little. Which I'm sure it does. But that gets back to the road feel point that I was making earlier, is that you want to feel connected to the road in a sportier vehicle, and this does a great job of doing that. It gives great feedback across the board. I don't really have any complaints. I can think of a couple, now that I think of it, I can think of a couple. The seat is a little strange. I'm about 6'1". I'm not really a small person per se. It feels like the bottom of the seat is just slightly too small. Now I have it set, I think, pretty much all the way down, and I want to sit lower in the vehicle. And they're not uncomfortable. I'm quite comfortable. They just feel a little strange. It'll take a little bit to get used to, but I'm also used to pretty well-used seats. I like the styling. It feels like higher quality materials. Digital dash, entertainment system, Uconnect 5, all feels like it works optimally. There isn't anything that I noticed where it was kind of glitchy or anything like that. Selecting your drive mode is a little strange. There's a bit of a delay, but not enough of a delay where if you were shooting for hybrid and you went to e-save, that it wouldn't kick on the engine. So I don't know what that's all about, but growing pains. I think as an introduction to the Dodge lineup, it's going to be a great addition. It's going to be the perfect thing for the person looking for convenience and practicality and just unable to let go of the wild side of Dodge. I don't know. You'll have to come down, take it for a test drive. Let us know what you think.